Changing Lanes, episode 10, Aoife Murphy. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very good, thank you. I have arrived back in Sydney, so it's my afternoon now.
Yeah, this was what was confusing me. I didn't know if I had the right at the right time, and I was checking on my phone and to be like, "What's the time in Sydney? What time did we say?"
You know
No,
what? I was in and out of time zones as well, so I was like, what did I say? Like, what time was that? I was in Bali when I confirmed the time, and I was like, oh my goodness, even trying to sort out my own calls this week, it takes a while to kind of catch up when you're changing the time zone.
yes, definitely. So we'll start off with a very quick question: Who is Aoife?
Aoife is a breathwork and energetics practitioner. I'm originally from Ireland in a place down south called Cork. And I'm from the country in West Cork. And I've been living in Australia the last 3 years. And only in the last month and a bit, I have taken the leap and went all in on my breathwork and energetics, which is really, really mad. And it's been a crazy bit of a roller coaster the last few weeks. But I've actually only decided in the last 24 hours that I'm going to move to Bali in the next 8 days. So I am packing up everything in Australia and yeah, I suppose making that move to Bali. But I have really stepped into this holistic space of being able to offer like different kind of modalities like breath work, energetics, nervous system embodiment practices to really work with the body about working through things that might be holding us back. And that's where I am putting all of my time, all of my energy. And it's been a work in progress for the last 2 years. I've been doing a lot of in-person events here in Sydney and trying to juggle a full-time job and a social life and a girl in her 20s and everything that comes in between it. And yeah, it's been a long time coming, but I'm super proud of where I am at the moment, and it's only the beginning.
Yeah, amazing. As per the name of the show, Changing Lanes, we talk a lot about changing lanes, obviously. Can you take me back to the point where you started to float the idea of, starting your own business, taking everything a little bit more, I say it in inverted commas, a little bit more seriously. So what did life look like at that point when you're kind of in this like pre-contemplation phase?
The whole pre-contemplation phase with the business was very organic. Like I've worked in like homeless services, domestic violence services for about 7 to 8 years already. And it was through my own personal experience that drew me to these modalities. I have a postgraduate in trauma studies. I am really interested in trauma, the impact that it has. And then it was through my own kind of personal experience that these modalities came into my life. And it happened just so organically that the resistance, I call it, almost like turned up so loud that I had to listen to that voice. And I was like, I have to start classes. So it started off like almost like a hobby on the side. I was working full time. It was, I got so much fulfillment from holding space, really like stretching my nervous system's capacity completely out of my comfort zone. I thought the thoughts of even getting up in front of 10 people, never mind 20 or 30 people, scare me so much that I thought I'd never get used to it. And it was really just something that was on the side. And I was like, it felt more like a hobby, but it was like a passion hobby, something that I got so much joy from so much fulfillment. And slowly over time, the other work that I was doing, which was like working in homeless services, I still loved the working with people aspect, but I started to almost like lose that love that I had for that kind of work. It kind of I almost felt like my energy was being drained. It was like I loved the actual people aspect of it, but then I didn't like working within the frames of the organizations that I was working for. And even some of the like I worked in youth services and I started like implementing like some of like my gen regulated breaths with them and everything like that. I just wanted to do this work. I was like, oh my God, I know this work can change lives. Like this is what I want to do. This is the impact that I want to have. I know that I can work with that kind of depth of connection with people. And I couldn't go there anymore in that job. And it was only kind of recently, I suppose, that I've taken that plunge to fully actually back myself in that and take that scary jump and go fully in. I haven't matched my salary. I actually enjoyed my colleagues and my workplace. It wasn't that it was like a really shitty place that I was like, I'm out. Like, it wasn't the perfect time, but something in me knew that I needed to do it. I was like, I know the level and that I can help people with, and these are the modalities that I want to do it through. And it wasn't, I suppose, till recently that I really kind of turned it into a business in the sense of it was no longer something that was on the side. And I think in the healing space, that can be really difficult because a lot of people go into this side of work, but not because of like finances or like the money kind of driven side of it. It's more from like the people aspect. And it's really hard to find a balance of how do you make a living and how do you still help people? And that I played with that for so long. And it really did keep me at that point where I was like, I just want people to come. Like, I just, even if it's for free, like I want to keep my tickets low. I want to like, do the groups. And I suppose the other side of that is you can't live if you don't have the finance there. We live in a transactional world. I still have to live my life. So I kind of had to work through those blocks myself. And I think it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I was like, this is it. I just had that pull, that grow that I was like, right, I'm actually ready to almost like level up. And this is a transformation that I know I can bring to people's lives. And this is what I'm ready to go with it. But I feel like it was really only in the last like 3 to 4 months that that really, really shifted for me. For a while, I tugged with it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing that it's so like fresh and you're in it at the moment. So like you can recall everything quite vividly. So like I said, you're in that pre-contemplation phase, you're starting to think about it. Lots of kind of like blocks and stuff are coming up. And you get to this point where you start to think about it, taking it more seriously. There's a level of self-belief that comes with that, right?
Yeah, and I spent a month in Bali, just gone there in May. And Bali, if you've ever been to Bali, Bali is a very expansive place. There is lots of expansive people in Bali and people who have very, very big goals and are living out their very, very big goals. And the rooms that I was in Bali, I found it so hard to describe, like being able to see what people were capable of. Like there was no limits. And now in Sydney, I felt like, yeah, I've got a good thing going. I've got regular, I've a community built, I've regular classes going. Like I got this. I went to Bali and I went, oh my God, I haven't even a notion of what's going on in the real world in business. Like I was now like a little tadpole in the ocean, and it was a bit overwhelming at the start. I was staying in a villa with three of my amazing, beautiful friends. They're all entrepreneurs, all founders of their own business, all at very, very different stages and really incredible, inspiring women. But also, I was at a very different chapter to them. I was at a very different season. And that was really hard at the start because I was like, oh my God, I'm out of my depth. And really, I'm just beginning. It's okay to be at this season. It's okay to have to learn the ropes some way. And when you are a business owner, you wear every hat. And I was no longer just wearing I had this income before that was almost like my fallback, where now it's like this is my fallback and I know it's going to work. And that belief that you have to fully back yourself. And I'm really, really fortunate that I have a lot of amazing people in my life that on the days that I found it a little harder, like they back me so much. I have really, really supportive friends. I have a lot of friends that are in the space of like working for themselves. And I would say that's one of the number one things if anyone is ever thinking of putting themselves in that position to like set up their own business, to go after their passion, is like put yourself in the rooms of the people that are also doing it, because one, you're going to learn so much from them, but they're also going to be your solace for when it's really, really difficult. And like no matter what stage you are at your business, whether you're making a 5K month or a 20K month, if you're starting something new, whether it's a new offer or something new that you're rolling out, imposter syndrome's real. It's a continuous thing. I have done a very deep healing journey the last 3 years through traumatic kind of things and like, abusive relationships and things like that. And I will say starting up a business will test everything. It is one of the hardest things to do because like it is one of the like biggest personal development things. I'm being really every wound is being lifted out and it's like, well, you have to make it work. This is what you want. And having that why behind what you want to do as well is so important. Like that is going to be your driving force. And I think as well, surrounding yourself with the right people, and the people that you aspire to be. Like the people that are a couple of steps ahead of you, like they're the people that you want to be around as well. And it kind of, I think Bali set my standard a little higher of like where I want to go and where I want to be.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And there's so many things that you said there that I'm like, yes, yeah, like I can completely relate to that. Like, yours was Bali, I went to Dubai, and
Yeah.
I kind of forgot how small I was playing. And it wasn't
Yeah.
like for me anyway, it wasn't a how do I say it? It wasn't like the thought and the belief I'd always had is okay, you're young, it's that you're at the start, but like there is like seeing what is possible and when
Yeah.
you transition into that next step. And honest, I diagnosed myself with the holiday blues for a few weeks, and I'm like, hang on, this has been going on for over a month. This isn't. I'm a bit sad because I'm back off holiday. I've gone from the sunshine in the middle of a desert to the cold, wet November back in the UK. Yeah, like that's something that I can completely get with. And you're right, like it's being in those rooms, and there's a level of like osmosis. You naturally kind of like raise up off the back of that. So yeah, no, amazing. What was it for you that you found was like the tipping point that you're like going from thinking about it to this is happening? Can you remember what tipped you over the edge?
So as I said, I work with energetics. So the way I naturally live my life is very much on an energetics basis as well. I am not very logical. I am very much like in my feminine energy. I really feel into things. And the more that I've reconnected with myself through my own journey the last few years, like my intuition is so strong, like I can't ignore it. And I can't go against it. And I have such a strong faith and trust that I'm being supported and I'm being guided. And it was really wild because at some point I must have known in me. I do this thing called scripting. I don't know, have you heard of it? Where you script a day that is like James Smith does it, like a few people have like spoken about it, but basically you would script a day that is like 3 months' time, a random date, and you would script it as if it was like in the present tense. So in February, my girlfriend had just moved to Sydney and she was talking about going to Bali for May. And I was in a full-time job and I was scripted in one of my like morning routines. I was like scripting and I scripted this day that I was in Bali for the month in May, even though I had no intention even of going with her at any stage. But I was there for the month of May and I was there with my two other friends, Tara and Alana, who were there in May. And this day we woke up and we were going to the gym and Emma and Tara are really competitive and me and Alana, like I literally had the whole day out and then we woke up in the same villa and da da da. And I'm not even joking. I only found it just before I left for Bali because it was only maybe 4 weeks, 3 weeks before Bali. I decided I might come. I think 4 weeks before May, I was like, oh, I might go for a week. And even in that script that I wrote in February, it said a month. It was something in like took over that I was like, I just said it to my girlfriend. I was like, I think I'm just gonna like hand in my notice. And that was like on the Friday or something. I was like, right, I'm gonna sit with it this weekend. Like, why is this coming up? And by the Monday, I just knew. I was like, right, this is I had told my friends that work for themselves. I had met them that weekend. I said, I'm doing it Monday. They're like, we're going to text you. And I was like, no, yeah, that's text me, keep me to it. And I was all roiled up and I went in Monday morning and my manager was there and I was like, oh, I can't sit with it tomorrow. I was like, I need to send the email. So I sent an email being like, hi, can I talk to you when you're in tomorrow? So then I was like, right, I now have to follow up. I have myself in case I like chickened out by the next day. And that was fine. I chatted with her and gave the notice, but it was wild. That was only like a few weeks before I actually finished, but it was like a few months before that I had scripted that I was there for a whole month. Completely forgot that I scripted it and kind of went about my life. And it was like literally the reflection. I ended up in Bali for a month with those three people living in the same villa. And that wasn't even their plan to be in the same villa. So like it just kind of came to me, like I would say intuition. Like that Friday I went, maybe I might actually go to Bali with you. I think I'll quit my job. And my girlfriend is a business coach. And I think like she doesn't even realize, but she used to say to me, being like, you'll be fine. Like, you will be fine. You have me, like, you'll be fine. And I
Yes,
think at
like,
some,
but yeah, you'll
yeah.
be fine. It's really annoying at the time, but they're usually right.
And I think at some point that was actually creating some safety in me to be like, I will be fine. Like, she is a business coach. She's very logical. She has all the data in the sense of you need to do however many DMs, to get however many sales calls, to get however many, like she has it all worked out. And I was like, it is data. Like it makes sense. Like I can actually do this. And I was like, I think I'm just going to do it. And I think it was her being like, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. I never looked at it in a business lens. Like I looked at it from a very much like, this is the hobby, this is, and it was never going to work like that. I could never make that level of impact and run. I was going to run myself into the ground doing that and running a full-time job.
Amazing. So how did you feel? How did you notice and you walk out the room? What's the feeling inside?
It was like I wouldn't say there was relief or anything. I just knew that it was a part of where I was at. Like I knew it was the right thing to do. Like I enjoyed the girl, like I not enjoyed, I got on really well with the girls that I worked with. And I suppose I was, I had only started that role. So there was like a small bit of guilt, but also I know that I have to look after myself and I have to put myself first. And I understood that, but I think I just more felt like guilt for like, oh, I'm only here a couple of months and I'm on the way out. But like at the same time, I really knew that it was the right decision. I didn't feel regret and it just sat really well in my nervous system. I was like, no, but it was almost like I had it like emotionally already processed. Like there was no big, oh my God, what am I after doing or anything. It was like, okay, this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, definitely. That's very interesting. Like holding those two feelings of, yeah, there is like, that's a very natural human response of like guilt, feel bad, but like they'll be okay, previous employer. But it's having that, like, I've always held a lot of resistance to like words like this, but it's something I've worked on and I'm much better at it now. But it's like honoring that feeling within yourself. You said to me that I would be saying words like that a year ago, I would have kicked off. I would have kicked off. And I'm trying to I try to find a better word for it, but there isn't. It's just works. So yeah, you make this, you end up in Bali, flying up from Sydney. Where do you, at what point in that kind of month do you turn around and be like, I'm all in, let's go?
Yeah, that's actually really good because there was a point that I emotionally detached from. The thing is, as a business owner, you are an extension of your business, and it is so hard at the start when you're getting like you're trying to get into your DMs, you're having sales calls, you're getting rejection after rejection. You know, you're getting the no's, and it's really, really hard. And like you're doing everything for the first time, or else, you know, trying to navigate systems and things, or even build systems if you had them before. And yeah, wearing so many hats. And like I had said, I had this pressure put on myself at looking at everyone else around me being like, my goodness, I'm so far behind. And also trying to juggle everything that you have to juggle at the start of a business whilst moving. And also it was the first time me and like my girlfriend had moved in together. And I was like, God, there's so much going on. And you become so obviously emotionally attached to like your work and like, oh, they don't want to work with me. And like, it's just hard. And I think as well, when you're a bit, I was definitely a bit dysregulated through that month as well, that I was like extra sensitive. But I went to this networking event in Bali and the girls were going. They say yes to all of the networking things. It was a free networking event in a place called Cafe Coach. Actually, it wasn't Cafe Coach, it was one of the other ones, but no, and it was a free event. And it was this guy who was on about AI and content. And to be honest, it didn't put me up or down, but I was with the girls before and we were going to go for dinner after. So I was like, yeah, I'll go with them. And there was something in what he said that just switched something in my brain. I had been, I had committed to posting content every single day since February, whether people liked it, whether people didn't like it, whether I was in a bad mood, whether I wasn't in a bad mood. I was like, this is something I am committed to. I am doing it every day. And he said something in it and he was like, he spoke about content as data. And I had been so emotionally attached to like whether a post does well and not like, I suppose naturally, like we're primed as human beings as like dopamine and things like that, that it like, we're obviously, it's not even that I wanted so many likes, but it was like you put so much effort into like making a reel, like the editing and stuff, and then it flops and you're like, oh my goodness, like, and you're just trying and anything. Anyway, he said something about data and I was like, oh my goodness, this is just data. I was like, I really need to start looking at my work as data. Like Emma would say, like, you know, it's not, it helped me kind of detach, like emotionally detach from what I was doing. Like I adore my clients and I'm able to work and be emotionally attached when I get to my clients. But I think from that aspect, I had to detach at some level from just, I suppose, people that I care about people I'm speaking with, but it's like it's at a different level to if you're working with me and my client. And that's more as well to protect my energy. Um, and I suppose the whole thing of data was like, even with the content, it helped me kind of step back from the business a bit and be like, this is Aoife, this is my business, and this is how we work together. And I was able to just detach, and it was wild. Like a week later, which is the whole art of detachment, a week later, one of my posts pop off, and because I just didn't even and that day I wasn't even going to post. I just like threw it up because I didn't even care at this point. I was like, it's just data, let's get it up. And that was it. But I think from that point it helped me like almost bring balance back into like how I was feeling, and like take that noise away, take that pressure away, and actually just be a girl in her 20s who is in this seasons of her life, and this is her lane. Like she is not in anyone else's lane.
Amazing. It's very interesting what you said there, because you basically got and created from the outside anyway. It might be different internally, but things have moved very, very quickly for you. You know, you've moved countries, you've left a job that was not quite working for you anymore. When I
Hmm.
first messaged, you had about 2,000 followers. When I went to check last night, when I was writing this question, you had 11. I went back a bit later, it was 11.1. Is the dream for anyone starting their business to pop off like that? But yeah, it's a real reality for very few people. Like that doesn't happen all of the time. And obviously, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. So, what do you feel kind of came up for you? Do you mind kind of sharing maybe some like darker and uglier sides of that kind of process for you?
Yeah, like one as well for anyone that's out there listening. More followers does not equal more clients. I think people from outside of like, people who might not be in business, like look at it and they're like, at some point it's like some authority, like not authority, but that sense of they have like 20K or 30K, like they must be like full, their books are full or whatever, there's that sense and it doesn't equal that. And so I have this thing that I never used to be a very like a competitive person in the sense of even for myself, like even through sports, I never really enjoyed like sports. I kind of always gave up before I would finish. And it was like I was afraid of that fear of failure through my whole life. And I was in a really unhealthy relationship and I came out of that and I started to get into fitness and I started to push myself and actually started to like even finishing 5Ks. I did a higher like those kind of challenges that I was like I wasn't in competition with the other people, but I was in competition with myself. I needed to prove to myself that I can actually finish things, I can do things. And as I said, my girlfriend's a business coach and she said, you will pop off, but you just need to post every day. And I had made this commitment to myself that I would post every day until it happened. And like, even at that, in a way, at points, I really just didn't want to. And even Emma was like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not going to get you more clients and da, da. But I couldn't stop because I was like, no, this is what I do. I was like, I don't fulfill something that I've set out to do. So I was like, I need to do it. But like, also making content, there's no instant gratification of that. Like, you don't like just because you put up a reel, you don't get something off it straight away. It's like that was so February, March, April, May. That was 4 months of me posting every single day with very little in return. Yes, people were kind of, I suppose I was still getting clients and stuff, but it wasn't in the sense of what you would expect when you put in that amount of work. Like it takes a lot to like record a reel, to edit a reel, and to get it up there, get the caption there. And it was like you're working for free essentially, even though I know you're not, it's a part of your work, but like you don't get, it's not like you doing an event. People pay you for the event. You go to the event, you get the fulfillment of the event, you finish the event. It's not like that kind of a streamless system. So it's kind of like this prolonged goal. And there was like really, really hard days that I was like the day that the reel actually took off, like went off, I was just having a bad, like I wasn't having a great day. And I was really stressed that day because I had so much on and we were at the gym and I had like half an hour and I was like, I'm just going to sit down and edit this reel. And for a second I was like, oh, does it even matter? And I was like, do you know what? data. I went to the guy at this stage. I said, if it's edited bad, I don't care. It's data. It's gone out there. And that was the one. And like it's not that I even wanted, I suppose it's not about numbers and like the following, but it was like I knew I wanted to make the move where I wanted to move online. And that meant that I needed to be able to like reach more people. And the reason that I was able to post every day was it was that was my why behind it. It was the commitment that I had actually made to myself, the promise that I had made to myself. And I didn't want to step away from it. And it was wild because as soon as that happened, everything that Emma had taught me to like to be doing the whole time to be kind of moving the needle forward with my business, I had such a block to it, such a resistance to it. And I was like, I was almost keeping myself stuck because I was putting all of my energy into the content. And then it happened, and it was like something in my body literally just switched. I was actually able to like put that energy into other places within the business that actually was moving the needle forward. But the main reason that I had like stuck so strong in it was that why of it was just my commitment to myself that I had said at the start I was going to post every day, so I was going to do it.
Yeah, I love it. It's yeah, again, it's making me what you're saying here is making me think back to, when I was had my business. Now it's something that I don't do anymore because it was a massive misalignment and it made me hate everything about it. Quite quite yeah, just completely fell out of love with those with that sort of situation. I've certainly found there was a big like detachment from actually getting stuck in that kind of content trap and neglecting the other things as well. So yeah, like I think it's well, if we've managed to do it, I'm sure a lot of other people, whether they're starting out or however they're running their business is something that's going to definitely be when you left Australia and even to an extent, obviously moving from Ireland to uh to Australia, leaving the job, relationship, country, whatever is hard, and you'll find a million reasons to stay the same because like that it's not a small thing,
Yeah.
and reality changes, and you have limiting beliefs coming out of your ears. How did you, obviously, with the couple of times that you've done these big steps, these big moves, how did you overcome these sort of like nagging feelings to stay the same, play safe?
Yeah, like when I first started my journey to where I am now, I'm in a very different space. Like at the start, I was very much in survival mode for a very long time, which meant that I found it really hard to make decisions. My whole, I suppose, my even like my relationship with myself was like I had zero self-worth. I had no boundaries. I completely abandoned my own needs, um, to where I am now and the perspective that I have on life. Like although like even it's like moving to Bali is such a big decision. I don't see it as a big decision. It's just another day that I'm moving my stuff to another place in the world and I get to experience a different chapter. I can always come back to another place, and like everything in this life is temporary. And I think sometimes we almost look at it, it's how we actually perceive something. And how we perceive the world, how we like almost interact with the world as well. Like obviously it is big, and I don't take it's a privilege that I'm able to actually take my stuff, work online, and go to Bali. And I'm so grateful that every single person who has worked with me, who has supported me, has made this possible. And it doesn't take away from that gratitude. But for me on a personal level, I don't even see it as a big a big thing. I see it as just I think the bigger thing I find is the physical aspect of like packing the bags and selling the car. But from an emotional point of view, I have such a strong faith and trust that I am so supported, I am so guided. And if I need to change, I can change my circumstances. We all have the opportunity to reset, realign at any given moment, and we have the capacity to change that. And I had made a reel for today, and it was like about choosing your hard. And like everything in this life is hard. Staying the same is hard. Like pushing through change is hard. But like you have one life. Like what do you want your heart to be? Both scenarios are going to be hard. Like life is full of the dualities of the ups and the downs. And I think it's like you need to have that strong faith. You need to have that relationship with yourself that your worth, anything like it's not tied to your output, to your like to anything in your external. And yeah, I think it was just being able to actually have that perspective on life, and that strong relationship with myself has allowed me to navigate changes quite easily. Like I would say I'm quite adaptable. And Australia has definitely done that as well. If you think of like visas, visa is like one of your base security things. It's like you're in or you're out of the country and it can be taken away from you at any point in the sense of they change the visas like just literally out of the blue. And that's it. You have to roll with it. And that's happened to me. I've had visas rejected. I've had went for other visas. Actually, this time I'm still waiting on my PR. And again, it's just like the good, the bad, and the uncertainty of life is all temporary. Like all we have is right now. And if next week I decide that I'm going to move to Bali to go all in and I need to change it in a month's time, let it be so. I'll deal with it then. There's no point in like putting that energy into something that I don't even know what way it's going to go.
That's very interesting, and I think there's such power, and I look at things, people, organizations, groups. Not that it doesn't matter, but like just another day, next day, and I think for me, this is the 10th episode that I've done, and
Mhm.
the one big thing that I've taken away personally is just like another day, another hour, not to be kind of like blasé and throw it. But it, an hour is an hour, a day is a day. And like I said, you can change. Now, it doesn't always feel like that. And I think that's where people have a big challenge and where people stumble with this sort of stuff. How do you, or how have you found that you've managed to build up that like trust in your intuition and that
Yeah.
it'll be okay? It's a level of evidence, but
Yeah,
how, no evidence to go to start having some.
yeah, like there definitely is. I think one, I'm very lucky that the work I do is nervous system work. So I can work with my nervous system. I have a lot of education and tools. Now, that is not to say when you are dysregulated, it is the easiest thing to tap into. I am still human. I still get triggered. I still have challenges, but I suppose I have a lot of awareness and tools under my belt to help me move through that. But there was times in Bali that I was crying because my nail lady didn't turn up. And I had to ground myself. I had to be like, you do what you teach people to do, Aoife. Because you are not okay right now. So I think that is like one side of it. But also like there like the things like tangible things that I would do is look at the things that people say to you. Like if you're offering a program and someone is having like incredible like shifts and changes that you're supporting them with, or they have something incredible to say about your work or the event that you have, put it in your notes app. Like have a bank that is almost like your proof. It's your tangible experience. This is real life. This is real stuff that you have done, whether it's like overcome things, like look back on your, like, especially if you're trying to like, it's really hard for some people to like tell, is it intuition? Is it fear? But like, even like looking back and being like, those times where it mightn't have made sense. It was probably your first thought. And then maybe something came and you're like, actually, maybe not. Like, usually that is your intuition, is that first initial thought. And like, look at the times when you said yes to that and write it out in your notes, like keep a bank of them in your notes, and it will start building this tangible proof that you can build your self trust on. Like it has worked out before, it will work out again. And if it didn't work out before, you have now the beauty and the gift of hindsight to probably look at it and be like, actually, that was redirection. That saved me from staying in that job for that long, or that saved me from being in a relationship that actually wasn't serving me. You know, it's, I suppose, being able to actually take pinpoints in your life, put them in your notes app for the times that are hard, because like they're the times that you just need a little something extra outside of you to be like, it's okay, you have you, like this is working. You know you need to trust your vision, and it's just like building that self trust. It's like a muscle. And I think the more you lean into it, the more you can strengthen that. Comes with intuition, comes with self-trust. And the more you work with your nervous system, like I work, like obviously, because I do a lot of work with nervous system, it's like stretch the capacity of your nervous system to hold that vision, because the bigger the vision, the harder to hold. And you see a lot of times people like, might be their thing that they pop off and they get 200K followers. And the next thing they self-sabotage the whole system that they had in place to get the clients on board because it's too much too fast. And that's what I do a lot of work around as well. Do work with business owners as well around like how do you work with your nervous system to stretch that capacity. So yeah, I think it was an important part. And I think I just had to swallow my own words when I caught myself in times of struggle over the last month. But yeah.
Obviously, I know that it's kind of you like your secret sauce and the stuff that you do with your clients, but what could someone who's very like early out, starting out, do to start to regulate your nervous system? Because I think you hear about it at school when you're like 15 or whatever. You park it once you've done your exams, and it's not something that comes up. It's because I'm starting to tune myself into that world. Anywhere that I look at that, and I'm like, oh yeah, nervous system, and it's coming out of everywhere for me now because I'm looking for it. Now, what would you find? What would you say if you could? You're saying about stretching your capacity of your nervous system. What's like the first very basic few steps that people could start to take?
So the first step for anything to make changes is you need awareness. Because without awareness, you don't know what was happening. You don't even know what to change because you don't know what's actually impacting you. So, like, do a little audit. Like, we all have natural survival responses. We've all had different past experiences. We've all had different childhoods, and the way that we interact with the world is very, very individually and based on how we've already experienced this world. So you can still build awareness yourself on, like, okay, the times I do get stressed, like, I went off the head there in work because someone said something to me in a meeting. What did they say? Like, delve a little deeper there. Like, what was it that touched something? And a lot of times when we're working with the cognitive mind, we're working from a top up approach, which means we're peeling back the layers with the onion. The part that I work with is I work with the body. So I work with the bottom, which is almost like the root cause. So it's the opposite way. But, like, just start looking, bring awareness to, like, where in your life do these survival responses show up, and, like, how do they show up? Because you need to be aware to be able to interrupt that cycle. And it's not that we will never get triggered in our lives. We are human. We are going to continuously get triggered, but it's instead of reacting, we learn to respond, and that helps us build our nervous system capacity. Because a lot of times, even when we're reacting, we are then dealing with the aftermath of our reaction, of the survival response that has spiraled into a week, that has started a disagreement or an argument or harmed somebody else. And a lot of times that causes extra stress, that causes extra pressure on you. So, like, even just looking at, like, where is this showing up in my life? How do I want to change how I react? And then even just, like, looking at simple things like, is there stuff that is not for you anymore, that might not, like, fit? Is there any changes that you can make in your life, whether it's your environments, whether it's your habits, the foods you eat? And, like, just start small. And what I would say is, don't go too much too fast, because when you do that with the nervous system, that is essentially like, when we talk about trauma, it's too much too fast. It's like an experience, but it's also will trigger a stress response. So you see these people at the start of the year, and they have set out these goals for 2025, setting a morning routine, a nighttime routine. They're giving up drink, they're giving up smoking, they're giving, like, there's a million things on their list. And by the time February comes, they've completely thrown off the bandwagon. And there's no way anyone can do that. Like, there is no way that anyone can not get overwhelmed by trying to make that many changes in their life. It's like, start small. Like, what small changes can you make? Start bringing awareness to how your behavior is. How do you interact with people? Like, what shows up for you? And what do you want to change? And even when it comes to a morning routine, I would say everyone should have a morning routine, whether it's even just being like 10 minutes off their phone before they start their day. Like, it doesn't have to be this massive thing where you're like, journal, meditation, run, swim, sunrise. It doesn't have to look and feel like that. It's like what works for you, because we're all different humans and not everything is going to work for us. So, like, look at what works for you, stay in your own lane with that as well, and continuously build on that. Like, when I live in Sydney, I'm up at 5:30 every morning. I gym every morning. I come back, I'll either do meditation, I'll do journaling. I'll spend about 45 minutes with myself. I have built that morning routine over the space of like 2.5 years. It's not a lot to me. But if I did that 2.5 years ago and went straight in, I would have found that a lot. Like, going to the gym every morning, doing HIIT, and then coming back and trying to do all of these things, it would feel like I'm just like stacking, stacking, stacking. So they're kind of some of the small things that you can do to bring some, like, regulation into your life, and just even like creating that stillness is the morning routine. And yeah, looking at, like, how you're interacting with people and how those survival responses show up for you. And breath work is incredible. If you wanted to even, like, down regulation breath work, so I work with somatic breath work, which is very much a healing type. But if you want to do like a down regulated breath, there's loads on YouTube. Just literally type in down regulation breath, and that will really help you drop into that parasympathetic, which is very much a rest, digest, regulated state.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that I've done quite a bit of recently, is just the whole like YouTube thing. And they literally just tell you what to do. It's such an easy thing. And I realized in myself that I'd not done it for a while, because I started to feel like this, like, for me, it's here on my chest. It's like a tightness, and breathing's shallower, lighter, very, very mouthy breathing, rather than controlling that, bringing the awareness to breath. Again, it's something that I used to hold so much resistance towards, and a lot of my kind of, I've said it a few times, holding resistance to the thing, holding a resistance to breath work, even certain words, that I'm like, "Well, I wouldn't use that. Why would I use that?" I think a lot of people have, and I'll say it very much in inverted commas, the kind of more woo-woo ways of doing things, um, that maybe are a little bit out there, or are really off the beaten. So what would you say to someone who wants these different outcomes in their life, but they're, again, a bit like me, holding this resistance to the new or alternative ways of doing, thinking, and living?
If you ever feel resistance in your life, it's also an opportunity, and this goes for everybody, to look at, why do I resist this so much? Because it's an internal reflection. It's a mirror that is being, it is an opportunity for growth, because there is something and someone in there, that little boy, that little girl has had some experience that has taught them that it is not safe to experience this, or that there's something has happened in their past. So anything we resist in life is an opportunity to go, what has created this resistance in me? So if there is people having that resistance, it could be even fear of like not having enough information. But I think when you ask yourself the question, you help yourself shed light on it, whether it is just fear and it's like, okay, well, it could be as simple as like a Google search and being like, right now, I'll just learn a bit more about it and I might like, remove some of that resistance. Or it could be that resistance of, maybe not wanting to put yourself out there, not wanting to be seen. And then it's like, okay, well, fact check it. Be like, is it safe to be able to go to this group that people go to every week, that it is a safe space, that, you might know a friend that's went there before. So even just looking at what's creating the resistance, because that might help you alone break through down some of the resistance. And then when it comes to like, I know I do Kundalini energy, which is quite new to the Western world. So that is, I always am shocked. I always feel like I am going to be met with more resistance, but I'm not. But I think start small, like just dip your toe in. Like you just like it, you don't have to like sit down for 20 minutes and do a breath work. Like just try a breath and be like, meet it with curiosity. Like you can still be skeptical of practices, but all you have to do is be curious, be open. And I work with a lot of men now, and a lot of men are very curious and like, but will it work? And I'm like, I welcome you being skeptical. Like this is allowed, this is encouraged, but it's again, it's like being able to be open and curious and meet it with that will be all the difference. Because if we create resistance from experiencing it, well, our ego is just completely taken over, and it will create almost like that wall to actually getting the benefits. So anyone that does experience that resistance or that fear to maybe dipping their toe in there, start small. You don't have to go to a breathwork class, throw on a YouTube. And again, just meet it with curiosity, with openness. You can still be skeptical.
Definitely. I think the, like, pivotal word in there is around curiosity. It's not like, when with, say, breath work, for example, it's not going to cost you thousands of pounds or dollars or anything like that. You might put on this YouTube for 10 minutes and be like, okay, I didn't like that guy, or I didn't like, the way it was. It's give it a go. The worst case scenario is you maybe lost 10 minutes. And, every moment in pressure in life is precious, granted. But what is, you don't know unless you try. Sometimes you need to kiss a lot of frogs to find the things and the ways of working that works for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And like that is so true. Like it's not like the first time it mightn't be this like big magical experience, but like look at the people around you, even look at the people that you follow, whether they're celebrities, Whether it's people on Instagram, whether it's books you've read, like it's worked for people. Why wouldn't it work for you? Like it obviously works. It's like just finding out what works for you. Like this changes lives. The evidence is there. And if anything, you're just blocking yourself from actually living a life that feels peaceful, that feels fulfilling, that allows you to step into who you truly are. And I think, I mean, I don't know who doesn't want that. Like, who doesn't want to like wake up excited and be like, I actually have control over my emotions. I have autonomy over my body. I feel connected. I can actually hold the capacity of my visions. I can wake up every morning and feel excited. Like those are, I think everybody wants to experience that. If you know that the biggest tool to get there, which is one of the ones, is like breath, why wouldn't you?
Definitely. And I think for me, I was thinking about it last night. And for me, it was a lot around like like a process of elimination. And I kind of asked myself a lot of questions. But the question I asked me is like, what not what if it works? Because that's not what I'm trying to say. But it's like, okay, well, I want X number. Why don't I add up? So say I want 10, the number 10. There's lots of ways to add. Now I might have always added up as say 5 and 5. But what about a 6 and a 4? What about a two, and a two, and a two? It's looking at these different ways to get the result. You know, maybe it is you add up 10 ones and you're finding that it's really tricky to get the result that you want. Trying these new ways again, you don't have to commit to it for a million years. It's sometimes it's 10. Commit loads of cash to it. Sometimes it is that little bit of work and input there and then. Now, like for me, I've now, like I said, I wouldn't sit there and say I've done it for hours and stuff like that, but I know when I haven't done it, and I've started to identify I'm not necessarily just in a bad mood or anything like that. I'm like there, like I said, I feel dysregulated. Something's not adding up, and like I said, that first step is awareness. So what need do I need to meet for myself? Do I just need to sit and feel it, which a lot of people find very hard to do? 'Cause I'm sure that's something that you cover a lot of ground on. Um,
Like that is so true. And what I would also say is different seasons of your life is going to ask for different like recipes. Like we have loads of different ingredients if you think of it this way, and there's going to be different recipes for different seasons of your life. We can't have the same recipe. It's not always going to work. So it's also looking at it like that, being like really getting to know yourself. Like, what does it feel like? What are your telltale signs of like, I can start to feel my mood shift, or I've noticed that my motivation's going down. I'm scrolling on my phone more. Like, what are your telltale signs? Like, get to know yourself really well, that you start to actually take control of your life. Like that's it. It's like the autonomy. It gives you that choice, having that awareness, because then you know, okay, when I can interrupt the cycle here, I need to do something. And it's like whether it's a breath work. And the thing is, I talk about this as like a regulation toolkit, because you are going to feel the most resistance in your life when you are dysregulated. Like you've probably experienced it yourself where you feel like shit or you're stressed, and the thoughts of putting on the breath work for 10 minutes, nah, out the door. Like you don't want to do it. And I've been there. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do the stuff either when I'm like that. And it's like I tell my clients to have a toolkit where it's like you get to know yourself really well. When you're in a fight response, a flight response, a fawn response, you start to look at what helps me. Like I was working in this job before, and I used to come away from it so agitated and angry every day that I would have to go for like a run, or I have to move the energy. So that was a part of my toolkit. And there was days I was wrecked, like I was after a full day's work. I don't want to go for a run, but I knew that it was something that was going to help me. So like have it written down. I love the notes app because we all have our phones with us all the time. So like have a regulation toolkit in your phone that says these are the things you like, whether it's call Sarah, who's a really trusted person who always has great advice, or have a cup of tea and run a bath, whatever it is for you. Everyone again is going to look different. Have them in your notes app, because when you actually get into that state of overwhelm or dysregulation, the last thing you want to do is do the stuff that helps. So to help you remove a little bit of resistance to it is have the plan there, because then we don't have to have the thinking capacity. Because actually what happens when we go into that stress response is our prefrontal cortex switches off. So our logical part of our brain ain't working anymore. We're now based on survival responses. So let's create a plan for when we are feeling a little off. What do I have to do? I know I'm going to feel a resistance to it, but make this promise to yourself that I'm going to do one of them for 10 minutes. If it doesn't help me, I can sack it off. But just even give yourself that opportunity. And having the plan removes a small percentage of resistance that we do experience, because a lot of times, even thinking about, oh, what am I going to do? Will I do the breath work? Or will I do the meditation? Or will I do the ring Sarah? Like, actually have the plan there for, that those moments where you feel agitated and the energy is like moving your body. You're like, I know a run will help, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, amazing. Something that you talk about a lot in your content is about the different responses. And I said about like fight and fright a second ago. So something that I was when I was looking through your content and starting to make some notes was something about a freeze response. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that might show up for people?
So a freeze response is essentially when your body goes into shutdown. It's when your body doesn't feel safe. So a survival response is when our body doesn't feel safe, whether it is fight, flight, freeze. But it's that shutdown response. So it's almost like numbing. So it might show up in your life. Burnout is a really, really common one where things are flat. You don't have any motivation. You don't like doing the things that you like to do. Texting back people that you love, usually like hanging out with, feels like the biggest trek. Even like looking at like the messages on your phone is like overwhelming. Doing small tasks can be overwhelming. And again, you mightn't even have this sense of lowness. It might be just very plateau. It might be like, I feel exhausted, but I'm not tired. I'm sleeping 10 hours a day. And essentially what happens is a freeze response is, so you have your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Basically, when you experience that freeze response, it drops into the stress response, but also it goes into the dorsal, which is like very much shut down. It's when you actually start to dissociate. Dissociate is like more of a therapeutic word than shut down, but it's basically when you are in your body and it goes, I ain't safe to be here anymore. And it just like completely shuts down. It's like, right, we need to numb out to be able to move through this. So that is how it will kind of show up on day to day, like mindlessly doing stuff, like whether it's eating, whether it's scrolling, and feeling like you're almost like a bit spaced out, want to isolate yourself. Yeah, they're kind of some of the common ones. Obviously, there's loads, but that.
And I think, like I said, it comes back to what we've said, what feels like a million times. It's around that response of just like starting to understand it. Now, I'd always thought that there was something wrong with me because I didn't sometimes want to look at my phone to look at my texts and avoid WhatsApp for days on end. And the only way that you're getting a reply is replying from like the home screen, not actually going into the conversation and daring to swipe left on Instagram so you can go into the messages and doing absolutely everything that you can possibly do for doing that. So, like I said, obviously with this one here, it's about then starting to re-regulate yourself a little bit. So what would you where again it's looking at like a basic kind of starting point. For me, I find that a bit of a circuit break tends to work pretty well and just let myself ignore it, go away, refresh, come back to it.
That stillness. Stillness is the beauty for any reset. Coming back to your body and creating safety, any survival response, whether it is the fight, the flight, the fawn, freeze response, safety. And it's how do we create safety in the body? And everyone is going to look a little different, and every response is going to look a little different. When it comes to freeze, a lot of time I would say to clients, less is more, is a very general terms, is stop stacking. And you'll hear clients be like, I'm doing everything. I'm doing the meditation, I'm reading the books, I'm listening to the podcast, I'm going to the class. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why you're in that response. You need to come off the accelerator a little. Like your body is in complete overdrive. And I think a lot of times we aren't taught what is stress, like how does stress show up in the body? What is it like? What causes stress? Like we don't really have a lot of aware. Well, I didn't have a lot of awareness or education in school around it. And even when I was like through my own journey, I learned a lot around, say, like emotional stress. And I went through a period of my life where only like a while, like only about like a year and a half ago, where I did do a lot of physical activity. I was like training for high rocks. I'd signed up for a half marathon. I was doing ice baths. I was like getting up early every morning. they are all and I was having coffee. Like they are all like stressors, physical stressors, even though emotionally I was very much like handling it all, like managing it really well. And the next thing, my body started to scream. My PCOS started to absolutely go agonize me. I was so bloated, I was so swollen. I started to get rashes on my skin. And it was literally my body being like, you're like, you are, I was in survival mode because of the physical things that I was doing to my body. So I think it's like building that awareness as well around you. Like, what does stress look like for you in your life? Like, sometimes people know what it looks like when it gets to a certain stage, when it's almost like screaming at them. It's like, how do we tell before it gets to there? Because often it's like, you know, when your body makes you stop before you've decided to actually stop, that's when a lot of people go, oh yeah, I better like take the holiday, or and it's like, it's actually, this is pointless. You don't even get to enjoy your holiday. You're probably going to be sick in bed first, you know? So it's like, yeah, looking at what that kind of stress looks like for you as well. But if it was a freeze response, I would often say the less is more. But it all stems down to safety. And like you said there about creating, or, you know, you go away for a bit, like almost like reset, take a bit of time away from it. Uh, that is essentially stillness will create, it will block out the noise. It will allow us go inwards. It will allow us almost like create that regulation ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in the high speed and trying to do everything really, really quickly, going at a million miles an hour.
We live in an
Do you
upregulated
get that
world.
as we go through it? Yeah, definitely. It's everything feels very fast and very rushy. And I'd always then really associated with fast, speed, rush, quick, 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 bosh, everything in. It's about doing as much as you possibly can in any given time period. It's about getting from A to B as quickly as possible. But what I found for me, you know, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. About slow down, it's not about doing as much as possible, because you end up finding that you do these things like really fast, really quickly. They're not done it with any kind of like depth or authenticity, and you rush, 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 and it just as like a tactic, it becomes really inefficient. And for me, that's been
A lot of people do that with wellness tools. Like they'll slap loads of wellness tools on top of each other. And I'm like, it's not going to be a quick fix. Like less is more in that sense. And like that sense of pressure, you're just adding to it. And the best thing you can do is literally sometimes just slow down. Like do the tasks, especially if you're business. I think business, we live in this like very upregulated world, a lot of hustle. It's like, how like I have a business to run, like how do I actually take the foot off the pedal, like, you know, and you're a one man show, like you have to look at like what moves the needle forward, because a lot of the tasks we do every day, they're fluff. They don't need to be done right now. They're not moving the needle forward any bit. So what are your income producing, like what is going to keep you afloat and is going to keep you at bay while you actually gather yourself and give back to yourself, that you so you can actually give back to your community, go give back to your business. So I think it's like as business owners, we need to also like take away that pressure sometimes and that noise and be like, you can actually still take the pressure off a little, still move the needle forward in your business and look after your own health.
yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's something that I've noticed that you said in your content is about moving at a million miles an hour. Like it to me now, I just any time that it's like, you know, you're in an environment where it is about like speeding up, I just like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work, and it's trying to hold yourself in space in those things. When you say upregulated, just for clarity, what do you mean by that?
We live in a world that is very much do, push, 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 force, 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 which creates a lot of pressure. And if you think back to like even when we think of like everything is at the tip of our fingers with dopamine, we have trained our body for quick fixes of dopamine. It's how we are primed as human beings now. Our phone is like literally under our pillows. People smoke with their vapes under their pillows. Like it's just this constant hit. Like we're continuously upregulating our bodies. We don't then implement this downregulated. So then you wonder why everyone's walking around completely stressed off their tits, because they just haven't, like they're trying to manage this really intense, busy lifestyle, but not have a space that they actually are supporting themselves to live that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I think a lot of it as well with the dopamine, it becomes very like cheap and not fulfilling. Like, yeah, I could look at this and I could see, oh, I've got a text here and I've got a text there and all of this stuff here. Like, it's very easy to do that. And again, it, like you said, it's, and I noticed when you said earlier about not going on the phone for your first 10 minutes of the day, that resistance came up and I'm like, I can't not do that. And it's holding that and actually like, do you know what? Whether I reply now or in 20 minutes time, I see it's not going anywhere.
But no one wants to, like, people think that it's easy to like break these habits, to break these cycles. I actually gave up vaping myself at the start of this year. I've smoked since, I'm not even going to tell you the age that I smoked. Very long time. And it's something that I really, as I went on my healing journey, my own values changed and they shifted. And my health became a lot higher of a value than it would have been before. And I really, really wanted to stop smoking. And I found it so hard. I kept telling myself, I can't, I can't. I'm not like embarrassingly, I was like crying and everything. Like I was like, I can't do this. I need to vape. I used to sleep. I used to be one of the ones who had it under my pillow. And again, it's going to obviously be hard. And it's like, have your why behind it. Like my values started to shift and my why behind it became a lot stronger. Also, it was for definitely the first 3 months, every time I got stressed, it was like, imagine being so stressed and you know there's a solution to your stress, but you think you know that there's something that's going to ease it, and you have to tell yourself no. Yeah, it's very, very hard. So it's like, how do you interrupt that habit loop? And like the simple thing I did was, and I still have them on my desk if I ever need them in case I'm stressed, is mint. So every time that I wanted to vape, I would have a mint. And there at the start for the first 2 months, I went through, I'm not joking, a packet of mints a day because I was like, I needed them. And then I just now have them on me just in case there's a day that I'm really stressed and it's something that I'm like, oh my God, I want to vape. So it's like, if you want to make those changes in your life, whether it's like putting the phone away and you're feeling the resistance, of course they're going to feel the resistance. Like you said, it's cheap, quick dopamine. It's right there. Imagine having your favorite cake in the world right in front of you and you go, you can't eat it though. It's just teasing. Like the things are at our fingertips. So it's like about that discipline in yourself to be like, right, this is why I'm doing it. I am going to do it. And this is like psychology wise, interrupting the cycle with another behavior is something that will actually support you make that change because I actually like looked into the psychology of vaping as well and everything. I won't even get into that, but it was so interesting because it's such a mind thing. We smoke when we're stressed, like when we're like anxious to calm us. Nicotine is a stimulant, so it should upregulate you. But actually what created the calmness was when you tell yourself you can't do something, and then like say you can't have a cigarette inside, so you have to wait till you're on your lunch break or go outside, and it's like then you go out and it's the relief that you feel. It's not actually the nicotine. So I had to build education around understand. That's just me. I just needed to understand. I was like, why is it so bloody hard? But like that's with anything. Like you can just look into it a bit more and understand what's happening on a like physiological and psychological level, and then you are able to really work with it in like interrupting that cycle.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a funny topic, but again, we won't get too deep in it. But it's like with a, like I said, with a vape, it's like the amount of times you see people put it up their sleeve and then like they're puffing on it like back down their sleeve. Like you wouldn't have a cigarette and like pull it down your sleeve and smoke down your sleeve.
I
Like
know.
what the hell? It's, but I think as well, like you said, it's like purely from a business move, it's a brilliant idea because you just solved a load of the problems around like, oh, well, I have to wait to my lunch break. You don't have to. And it doesn't smell, but I think it smells awful anyway, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, again, having it, yeah, so that's very interesting what you said there. It's about the relief, not the,
Yeah, and it actually worked. So then what I did was this is you can take this for anything in your life that you're trying to initiate that change. Like get the education around it. Like we all have access to ChatGPT, Google. And then what I did was basically I told myself I was like I can't like it's not that I can't have a vape. I'm not going to smoke for 1 hour. instead of changing it to this big, long eternity that feels really overwhelming and agitates you 10 times more when you're in the moment of wanting something, saying you don't want something for 1 hour is a lot easier than saying, I'm not going to vape right now. I'm not going to vape for I'm for the rest of the entirety. And that actually, like, it leaves some of that kind of like stress as well.
Yeah. Amazing. Awesome. So, sort of coming into the end of the show, so classic question that you always ask at the end. Where can people find more stuff about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. And my name is Cree Connection on Instagram. It's Irish, so it's CROI underscore connection. Cree is heart. I'm very heart led in my business, in my life. So it was very fitting. And I feel like that's what I bring as well.
Yeah, I
But
did
I
ask
talk
you that as well.
Yeah, and I talk like all things nervous system and try give as much like tips and techniques that people can actually take and start to implement changes in their own life. And there's different ways you can work with me, but yeah, I have a 3-month healing container at the moment that I am working one-to-one with clients that are trying to move through something in their life at the moment. It varies. Some of them are business owners, some of them have experienced trauma in their childhood, and some of them are just in that space where they're trying to navigate change. So it really, it's so individual. And I also host retreats. So I have a retreat coming up in Ireland, which I'm buzzing because we only released it last week and we're 60% sold, which is incredible. And I have a retreat for business owners coming up in Bali in September with myself and Emma, my business partner, who is the business coach. But yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you, Harvey. Thank you. It was so great to catch up with you.